So, prior to coming to the hospital, what was his physical state like?
He had a combination of high and low tone. So his tone was never permanently fixed. So as a result, he could move his arms and legs, but there was times when they would be tight and times when they would have low tone in them. He couldn't sit independently at all. If you positioned him in the sitting position, his trunk would, he'd sit for a moment and then his trunk would fall completely forward, so his face would nearly be on the floor. That would subsequently make him cry. He felt very uncomfortable, unsafe. If he didn't go that way, he would go back or to the side. He had enough strength. If his body went forward, he could pull himself back a couple of degrees, but that was pretty much it. He was, fairly unstable. Even if in a high chair, you'd have to sort of pad either side of the chair, because he'd always sort of fall to the left, particularly to the left he would go. He had absolutely no strength whatsoever with his arms, so he wasn't weight bearing at all. So even if you would hold him in this sitting up position, he wouldn't really put weight through his arms at all. He just started to roll to the left while on the floor. It took a great deal of effort, and he would most of the time go from his tummy to his back, occasionally from his back to his tummy. If you put him on his stomach on the floor, he would quite often get stuck in that position and cry because he couldn't get out. He has low tone in his jaw, so his jaw almost always sits open. Over the months, it's gotten a little better in that when he sleeps, he closes his mouth. But other than that, his mouth is constantly open. So as a result, he does eat, but it was very messy because he'd eat and the food would fall out a little. That has been getting better, but before we came, it was still a problem. And he dribbled all the time. Not severely, but enough where he'd have to have a bib on all the time, and there was just constant dribble.
What about his weight-bearing ability?
If I held him firmly under his arms, he would put his feet on the ground. However, his legs would lock, so he wasn't actually, there was no sort of dynamic movement with his legs where his muscles were holding his legs up. Also, he has hypersensitivity on the soles of his feet, so unless he's in very firm-fitting, comfortable, safe for him feeling shoes, his feet would often spring off the floor when they'd touch, because he'd almost grimace at light touch on his feet if it wasn't firm, like in firm shoes. He wasn't really all that good. We have a standing frame at home to give him the experience of being upright and to weight bear, but in terms of him really doing it himself, not very much at all.